I'll start with recruitment. 'Cause there's been a fair bit of that in the past sort of week from you. I'll start with the three lads from overseas, Billy, Liam, and Charbel. Just give us a bit of an insight into them as players and how those moves came about, if you would.
Yeah, first of all, Billy, obviously from the Canterbury Bulldogs, was looking for obviously a middle, just to add to the competition and give us a little bit more presence when we look to our bench. And obviously Billy fit that bill. Spoke with Mark O'Mealy, who I coach at Hull FC, and who coaches obviously the Canterbury Bulldogs. He was a formidable front rower, so he had good things to say about Billy. He said he got a big engine, gets through good minutes. And there's a real likable character and someone that we feel will do a good job for us. Peter Sharp obviously also spoke highly of him. Peter obviously is a recruitment manager at the Canterbury Bulldogs and was a former head coach at Hull FC. He speaks highly of him. So looking forward to seeing what Billy can do. He's trained exceptionally well this week. He's brought something to the group. He's a big boy, got some presence and, found some, little, how could I put it, little bits of skill, which, was really, really effective for us. He's got the ability to get in between people and he's got late footwork and hoping that he'll be able to get some quick play the ball. So, looking forward to seeing what Billy's, capable of. With regard to Liam, he's someone who came onto the radar, looking for that dynamism, versatility, and he's an aggressive little man, which is something that you like. Very, very quick out of dummy half, and we've had really, really good feedback from obviously some guys who have played with him, and some guys who've played against him. Josh Sim being one of them. Obviously, Josh plays at Winning Manly, and he's someone we're looking at, and he spoke really highly of Liam. So, he's going to be a good player for us, and looking forward to see what he can bring. He's brought some energy to the group already. It was his first day today, and obviously he's got a little bit of character and a little bit of personality, which is what you need at this time. And then the final one is Charbel. He's obviously someone we've looked at the Newtown Jets quite closely, obviously, over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, KLRO was obviously in that team, and Charbel was something that stood out. Right edge, back rower. Capable of playing obviously centre and back row. Good line runner, very, very athletic, and a good age. Obviously, only being 23 years of age, and has a good experience from his time in the World Cup with Lebanon. So, all three players, I think, are going to add to the group. And then, we've got obviously Fozzie back, who great competitor, great character, knows Castleford, absolutely loves the club, and knows he's going to be a real key acquisition to us at this late stage in the season. So the four players have come in, brought some freshness to the group, and we're looking forward to seeing how they can contribute between now and the end of the season.
The three that have been training this week, Billy, Alex, and Liam, as you mentioned, who's coming this morning. What have they shown you so far in training you? Are they ready to go? Are they ready to, the two that are in the squad tomorrow, are they ready to go?
Yeah, definitely. Billy's, like I say, he's very educated, smart, rugby league man. Has got good experience, played, in the New South Wales Cup, which is a strong competition. Had a couple of games in Canterbury's top team back in 2022, covering a little bit of the COVID outbreak there, and did a really, really good job in those games, where he stepped up obviously into the top squad. So he's got some skill about him. Like I say, he's got good late feet, and he's a big body. So he gives us a little bit of that presence. When you look to your bench, there's some real presence there. So I'm looking forward to seeing obviously what Billy can do. Liam, obviously he only did a little bit of running with us today in our team run session. He arrived obviously, yesterday. So we just wanted to get the flight out of his legs, and the game's going to come a little bit too soon for obviously Liam, but you can see straight away that he's got some energy, he's got some personality, and I think he's going to be a real dynamic player for us. So looking forward to seeing what Liam can do. And then, like I say, Fozzie, he's stepped in to the back row. Someone who can cover numerous positions off the bench, and he's someone who's got great experience, not only of Castleford but of Super League, and he's going to be, good acquisition for us.
those sort of lower grades in Australia, do you feel like that's a bit of an untapped market almost, the Queensland and New South Wales Cup? Because there's often talk of some of the bigger NRL names that come over, but often those that aren't as well known seem to do, just as well, if not better sometimes.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is the NRL is such a tough competition. It's very, very difficult to, break into that top 30 in the NRL because of the amount of players that play over there and the depth of players that they've got. It makes it very, very tough to get in that top team. So that New South Wales Cup, that Queensland Cup, it is a bit of an untapped market. And, you look over the course of history in Super League, there's been some exceptional players who maybe haven't quite made the grade at NRL level and have been able to, do a really, really good job in Super League. And, Jackson Hastings, springs to mind. He was someone who didn't quite crack it and come over here and obviously did an exceptional job for Salford and has gone back there. And then, a guy we're playing on the weekend, Schneider, he's come in and, he's had two very, very good games for Hull Kingston Rovers. Albeit he hadn't been able to quite, get into that Canberra top team. And, like Michael Dobson, someone else who wasn't quite able to quite crack it in, the NRL, comes and plays for Catalan and Wigan and, ends up being a good servant for, Hull KR and Salford as well. So it is a bit of an untapped market. And there are some very, very good players who you can pick up. A guy who we played a fortnight ago, Chris Satte, was someone who couldn't quite get week in, week out regular action, for the New Zealand Warriors. And, Hull FC picked him up and, he's ended up being a very, very good Super League player. So it is an untapped market and it's a market that we've been looking at and we've been able to pick some players from there and hopefully they'll be able to make a real impact in Super League.
Obviously, the deadline is next week. Is that you set now, or can we expect any more movements?
Depends what happens this week. If we pick up any injuries or, knocks, with a week to go, there still might be a little bit of movement. I think every team's the same. If something comes up and you can make something happen, then you'll try to make it happen. If it improves your team, improves your competition in your squad, then you'll do the best you can to try and make that happen. So, we're the same as everybody else.
And just quickly, obviously going the other way, Beretta and Mahe leaving the club. Was that a sort of deal that just suited all parties in the end, that one?
Yeah, it was very, very difficult for myself. That conversation with Mahe and Beretta, the two guys who, I've spent a fair bit of time with and created, a good friendship and relationship with them both and, been part of some unbelievable moments and memories, which we'll be able to speak about, in the future. But it was just a case of, it suited all parties. They weren't going to be with us next year. We needed a little bit of freshness to come in and needed probably a little bit more versatility, from our quarter spots. And, Beretta obviously can only play that wing position and, Mahe can play a little bit centre and wing. And we just feel we need a little bit more. And, we come to that decision, although it was difficult. Never nice. It was a business decision which we had to do, and those two guys, thank them for obviously everything they've done for the Castleford Tigers in the 18 months they've been with us, and wishing and their families and themselves the best of luck for the future endeavours.
Moving on to tomorrow night, then you've got several players back in the squad. Greg, George, and Nathan among them. How big a boost it to have those players back available?
Yeah, massive boost. Greg Eden, such a potent strike player for us. We certainly miss him when he's not there. His ability to instinctively get on the end of things and score tries and be a real offensive weapon for us has certainly been missed. George Lawler is someone who contributes a great deal to the group and contributes a great deal to performance. He's a real hard worker. Does all the 1%ers very, very well. And when he's not there, you notice it. So I'm looking forward to seeing George back, obviously, in the Castleford shirt. So, yeah, we're looking forward to, those guys coming back. And then Nathan Massey, he's someone who's got great experience, real effort-based player, and the effort-based things what we actually need at this moment in time. And his experience, all three of those players are very, very experienced. And the fight that we're in, we need those experienced players to be able to stand up and, put in good performances when the pressure's on.
What do you make of Hull KR at the moment? Obviously, they're coming off the back of two sort of last ditch wins. How do you read them going into this game?
Yeah, they're a good side. It was great for obviously Hunkingston Rovers, to get the result like they did last week against Wigan Warriors and getting that, Challenge Cup final. And, I think it's great for the game that you've got Lee and Hunkingston Rovers participating in, one of the showpiece events of our calendar. So they're a good side. We'll need to perform exceptionally well to beat them. We're giving them a real good game. Obviously, at our place, it was 12-7. It was a ding-dong battle. There wasn't much between the two teams, and I don't think there'll be much between the two teams on Friday night. We've got to go there, perform at our absolute best, and make sure that we complete well and play field position, and try and make Hull Kingston Rovers feel uncomfortable. It's going to be a red hot atmosphere. I know the Hull Kingston Rovers fans, will be celebrating, that Challenge Cup appearance by supporting them, tomorrow night against us. So, it'll be a really, really good atmosphere, and the big games, what you want to play in, and those atmospheres are what the players want to play in. So hopefully that can inspire us to a real strong showing against a good side.
Yeah, I don't think Gareth Widdop's been mentioned as he yet. His injury. Is he injured?
Yeah, he's injured. Yeah, he picked up a hefty dead leg after the Hull FC game, and the quads obviously taken a fair bit of swelling and a little bit of a bleed. He should be able to go Friday. He was touch and go for this week, but obviously he's not been able to get through the Tuesday session. So we made the decision to obviously not select him in the squad.
So back for Huddersfield then, all being well.
All being well, yeah, back for Huddersfield.
Good stuff. Did the break come at the perfect time for you to get bodies back and bring some fresh bodies in as well?
Yeah, it did. It come at a good time. We trained on the Monday and the Tuesday, had a couple of good sessions, and then we also trained on the Thursday. So we only give them, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. We had some things that we needed to fix up and work on. So they got a little bit of downtime, but not too much. We need to obviously make sure that we take care of business, and them 3 days was good to freshen them up, and it allowed us obviously a little bit of time to bring in those fresh bodies.
Yeah, with the lack of signings at the time and 3 defeats in the row, there was a bit of negativity, but there's more positivity among the fans now. Is that the same in the camp as well?
Yeah, the camp's been good, because performances haven't been consistent across the 80 minutes. There've been some moments where, we've been competing really, really hard. There's just been a 10-minute period in the game against Hull FC, in the game against Lee, and in the game against St Helens, which proved really, really costly. So we just need to try and iron out those, lapses in concentration and those lapses in intensity, and try and piece together an 80-minute performance. Because if we do that, we know that we can compete with the best teams and beat the best teams, and that's what we need to do. We need to put a real good, solid 80-minute performance together on Friday night to get the result.
Yeah, on this game against Hull KR, obviously, given they were involved in a Golden Point semi-final only a few days ago, is winning the energy battle a non-negotiable?
Yeah, I think, we need to make sure that we win the energy battle, make sure that the effort areas are good. I know that Hull Kingston Rovers and Willie, pride their performances on those effort areas, and they've done them very, very well. And there was excellent obviously on the weekend against Wigan, and they worked so hard for each other and competed so hard for each other. It makes them a difficult team to play against, but we've gone toe to toe with them. 12-7 at home. We'll need to replicate the same type of performance and tidy up a couple of areas in terms of our execution, to get the result.
They've obviously got plenty to play for themselves in Super League, but are you viewing this as a big opportunity against a side that do have one eye on Wembley?
A strange one, Willie seems to always pick what he perceives to be his strongest team, and they're probably having those discussions. Our resting players for the cup final, etc., etc. The team that gets selected to play against us will be the best team what's available to them at that time, I should think. And they've got that next man up mentality. So they're going to be good. They're going to be good. We'll need to be at our best to obviously get a result. But we are looking forward to the opportunity of, playing Hull Kingston Rovers, and hope that we can do the right thing with the ball, and hope that we can put them under some pressure and make them feel, those 280-minute performances that they had against Leeds and Wigan.
You've been there with Hull, obviously. How difficult is it to manage and juggle both competitions?
Yeah, it's tough. 2016, we won the Challenge Cup, and then it was down tools. And then hope that we're able to pick it back up. With 2 games to go. 17, obviously, as soon as we won the Challenge Cup, it was right, next job. And the outcomes were still the same. We weren't able to quite get to the grand final, but they've done a great job, to get to the final. But I know that as a club, they'll be wanting to go, one step further. They had a disappointing 2015 against the Leeds Rhinos. Probably celebrated a little bit too much just getting there. So I know as a club they'll be going all out to try and win that Challenge Cup. But likewise, so will Leeds and the Lee Leopards. So it'll be a ding dong game. We've just got to make sure that we take care of business this week and let Willie deal with those issues and those headaches. I'd much prefer to be in his position, having headaches of being in the Challenge Cup final than where we are at the moment.
Yeah, just finally on yourself, so you've obviously got 2 huge games coming up, but now before another break, how important is it to put some distance between yourselves and Wakefield before going over there next month?
Oh yeah, it's massively important. Every game is of the same value. It's 2 points. We can't target one game against the next. We've got to make sure that every game that we go into, we go in full-blooded with a view to trying to get those 2 points at the weekend. We've got an opportunity against Hull Kingston Rovers. We're on the back of a short turnaround and an emotional game. We need to make sure that we put in a real strong performance and give ourselves the best chance of picking up those 2 points. Every game's important for us, and every performance is important for us, and that's the way that we're attacking it.
Just on the recruitment, I know there's been quite a few guys coming over the last couple of weeks, but is that recruitment done and dusted now then, ahead of next week's deadline, or can you see a little bit more movement happening before then?
I think we're always looking. I think every team's the same. You're in that position. If somebody becomes available you think can really improve your team, and if you've got the finance to try and make something happen, then I think we'll try and make that happen. We're not actively looking again, but it's that time of year where agents are sending emails out and players are sending, emails out. And if someone obviously, takes your fancy, you might try and make it happen. So, we're exactly the same. And if something happens, we'd do our best to try and, make another signing if we felt it was needed and if we felt it made the team and squad better.
Do you feel better in yourself having made these signings? You've been able to kind of, I guess, put your stamp on things, haven't you, over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I just think the freshness that those new bodies have brought to the group, and I'd obviously Riley Dean and Jordan Johnston to that, and the 4 guys that were brought in, it's just brought a little bit of spark and a little bit of energy, because the players have to go out of their way to create new relationships with those new additions. Those new additions are striving to showcase what they're capable of doing, and they want to put their best foot forward and build relationships with the teammates, and also show the teammates that I can play, I'm ready for Super League, give me a spot coach. So there's been a real positive vibe around the group this week. Hopefully we'll get a real positive performance on Friday.
Again, how much time have you spent over the last week or two on dealing with bringing players in? Because, you've brought these 4 guys in. It must be an incredibly time-consuming thing. And presumably you've got to persuade your chief executive as well that that these guys are worth bringing in, because obviously it's a financial commitment from the club's point of view, and money's never too easy to come by at most clubs, to sign players mid-season.
Yeah, it's been a really, really, I wouldn't say stressful, but busy time. Really, really busy time. And obviously with Australians being 11 hours in front or 11 hours behind, I can't quite work it out. It's basically your work with regards to the recruitment stuff starts about 9 o'clock at night, and conversations with, former players you've worked with, former coaches that you've worked with, speaking with agents, that all takes place obviously into the early hours. Danny Wilson, obviously our director of rugby, has done a really, really good job and spent a hell of a lot of time, trying to get these deals done. And,
You and he are on the same page, I assume, because sometimes there's a bit of a, it's like at West Tigers at the moment. There's a bit of debate about whether Liam Fulton and Benji Marshall are on the same page, with Liam as their recruitment guy. But you two here are completely
on the same page.
Yeah.
We're on the same page. We look at the players and suggest players, and do our background checks and research, and use the contacts that you've got within the game. Obviously, I've been in and around it now for the best part of 25 years. So I know some people in Australia. I know some players in Australia I've coached, and I know some players over this way and agents, etc. So using those contacts has been of real benefit to us, and understanding that competition as well has been of benefit to us. And it's been a really, really good process, and it's been quite exciting, getting those players across the line. And, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what they can deliver for us. We need big performances. They're full of ambition and full of desire. That's why they're here. They're all of good age. And I think it's going to give us a real, real positive lift. And it makes my job difficult in terms of team selection. The other side of, signing players, it raises standards in training. Because if you're not playing well and you don't perform well, all right, ain't good enough to get yourself in the team. You've got to actually excel in a position. You've got to showcase the best of yourself and do more than being average. And I think that's something which, these new guys coming in will help raise those standards of performance.
Absolutely. On Friday night, obviously Gareth's missing. So will you be playing Greg Eden at fullback? Is that likely to happen, or have you got something else in mind?
Yeah, he played obviously fullback against Hull Kingston Rovers last time, and the Jordan Abdul bombardment. He did a great job on it. It's something that we've considered. We've not quite fully decided on that, and I don't want to give too much away.
No, they might be watching. Who knows?
Yeah, they might be watching. I know that I read a fair bit of the press and see if I can get anything out of Hull Kingston Rovers or whoever it is we're playing. So. Yeah, I want to try and throw in a bit of a curveball there, Martin, and say that Greg's going to be at fullback definitely, and see what happens when it comes.
Just one thing on you've mentioned, being with Hull back when Hull won the cup in 16 and 17.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was just checking. Hull in 2016. I'm sure you'll remember. Hull beat Wigan in the Challenge Cup semi-final, and the following week they were playing at home against Castleford, and Castleford went to Hull and beat them. So, there's a precedent that might hopefully repeat itself.
Let's hope lightning strikes twice then, eh?
Yeah, just really quickly from me, Andy. Obviously, you've got the two new boys in the 21. Yeah. Are you hoping that they'll bring a little bit of an unknown edge to the team? Something like Willie Peters can't predict?
Yeah, definitely. Willie will probably know of the two players. I know of obviously Alex Foster, and I know Danny Maguire will know of Fozzie, because he started out his career at Leeds Rhino, so they'll have done the homework. They'll know the players, and you can get footage to it. But knowing what's coming and stopping it are two separate matters. Everyone knows what Jordan Abdul's going to do. Everyone knows what Sean Kennedy-Lowell's going to do, and Matt Parcell, Jez Litton, but, stopping it is a different matter. What we need to do is focus on being the best version of ourselves. Really, really hoping that Billy, and Fozzie contribute, some real strong performances when they actually, get onto the pitch. And we need a big performance. And, they're just part of, obviously, the 17 that are taking the field against Hull Kingston Rovers. So, yeah, we're hoping that, that they come up with a couple of skill stroke intensity stroke contact things that might tip the scales in our favour. So yeah, looking forward to it.